Welcome back to Roxham TV. I'm your host, Jamie, and today I'm bringing you more market updates during this volatile time, especially during the holiday season. So, oil price is being really volatile, and we know that in the coming year, 2026, there is expectation that oil price is going to come crashing. This is majority due to the supply and demand imbalance. And second of all, we also have precious metals crashing yesterday. This came after a massive run up from both gold and also from silver and also palladium. So yesterday it was going through a lot of crashing from the precious metals. So we're going to dive into the market updates in a bit. And that of all, we're also going to look at AI because there seems to be more evidence saying that AI might be in a bubble after all. So without further ado, let's dive into the chart because we're going to start with Bitcoin price. Bitcoin is usually more sensitive to global uncertainty. So, of course, and I'll show you, we're going to do some Bitcoin analysis before looking into macro. And since we are doing TA every single day, not gonna lie, Bitcoin is not like doing much in terms of this like consolidation period. We're essentially just like bouncing between 94K to a bottom of 84K, bouncing around. And this is exactly what I predicted in the beginning of December. So the reason being is that Bitcoin usually that there's this like general downtrend that is forming since 126K. That was back in 6th of October. And whenever we come close to this like downward trend, we're just like getting rejected. And from yesterday live show, what I mentioned is that if we have a daily candle closing above this downtrend, and looks like we got rejected again. That was yesterday candle on 29th of December. And if we manage to stay above, so closing above this downtrend, this is a little bit of bullishness that I see in a bear run. However, since we end up getting rejected yet again, this is another bearish signals and looks like there will be more pain ahead of us. And we are squeezing that momentum in. And one thing I noticed is that there's this rising support. So we've been building this support line since 21st of November. And whenever Bitcoin touched the support line, we managed to stay above that and close above that rather well. And we also have this building support on our side as well. However, since that we are on the edge of breaking that support, if we first of all, we didn't manage to close above this general downtrend. This is bearishness number one. And bearishness number two is this rising support. Since we are on the edge of that support on both the hour side and also on the price action, this is another bearishness number two. If we, however, lose this support, then I hate to break it to you, the next level that I'm seeing is around the 76K region. The reason why I would say 76K region, because that was the previous support we found all the way back in March 2025 and also in April 2025. And we also found resistance around here. We stay a few days around 77K. That was all the way back in November 2024. So in other words, if we lose this RSI, so if RSI goes down and also if the price action, we lose this rising support, then it's going to be a free fall down to 76K. So this is at least what I see from a TA perspective. Let's also hop onto the weekly chart of Bitcoin. So weekly chart right now, I need to bring out the Ichimoku cloud because that is another bearishness that I'm spotting. Let's go ahead and remove all the drawings. So Ichimoku cloud is a forward indicator. So everything is forward looking. And the problem that I'm seeing from the Bitcoin chart is that the red line is going across the green line. This is, again, a bearish signal. This is telling us that things are moving to a downward, maybe a wrong direction. We are going down, in other words. So the reason why, and basically how low could we go? Last time, based on the or the 4-year cycle, we managed to spend around 3 months, so 100 days inside this EG Mega Cloud. And right now, it looks like it's playing out exactly what it does in the last cycle. So in other words, we only stay inside this EG Mega Cloud for like 50 days. We might stretch that out all the way till February 2026 next year. So in the coming weeks, maybe we're gonna chop around inside this consolidation period. So in general, this is still a bear market, but like even if a bear run, like it's not a free fall down to as low as 200 week moving average. So it's not going down without any support. So we're still going to see a relief rally like this. And in the coming weeks, I do expect this is going to be the relief rally for Bitcoin before heading lower. So you could be asking, how low could we go? Let's pull up the 50-week and also the 200-week moving average, because the general rule of thumb is that we use the 50-week as to differentiate whether this is a bear run or a bull run. And obviously, 2 weekly candles closing below the 50-week, that is a bear market. And usually when we lose that, we're going to chop around. So I won't be surprised even Bitcoin pumped to 100K, but from a technical standpoint, this is still a bear market. Reason being, the previous all-time high that we had, it was 108K. So anything below 108K, this is a bear market. So there's no argument there. However, that being said, there's still amazing trades that you can pull. If you guys haven't de-risked yet, which I highly recommend doing so, of course, that is your own portfolio. I don't know about your financial position, but like judging from a TA perspective, from my personal strategy, when I see a rally like this, maybe pump all the way to 100K, if there's any spot position, especially come to altcoins, then I'm taking massive profit. Like if I'm not selling certain altcoins because I'm emotionally cling to some altcoins, what I'll do is that I'll pull some short positions, and so far strategy is working rather well on my behalf. And this is one thing I'm doing. If I see Bitcoin pump all the way to 100K, then maybe it's a time to de-risk a little bit if you guys haven't already. So in the coming weeks, I do expect that maybe we'll have a rally before going to the 50-week, 200-week moving average, being the red line over here. 200-week is sitting at 56 or 57K. But since this is slowly going to catch up, and based on the 4-year cycle, last time we spent like a year going down. So from the all-time high of 69K to a bottom of 15K. So we roughly spent a year, so 364 days. If we judge from that, that will bring us to, so we happen to see a all-time high on 6th of October. If we stretch that out to 364 days, that will bring us on all the way till 5th of October next year. So by the time, well, Bitcoin, the 200-week moving average was slowly going to catch up. So I'm expecting somewhere around 60K for the cycle bottom to form. And until that happens on 5th of October 2026, I'll say I'm still playing by ears. If not, I'm not seeing too much bullish signals from ATA from the chart perspective, then I'm just like I'm not taking extra risk, even though the spot position for altcoins, I'm not pulling any leverage, and especially seeing how much money got racked in the system. And it's very common to see more than $1 billion get liquidated on a 24-hour basis in the crypto world. So this is how Bitcoin is looking. Let's also hop on to the macro side of things. And I do want to spend a little bit more time looking at macro because we have news about oil price and gas price, and as Bitcoin is getting so mature, is becoming a macro asset, it's important to look at how the global news is doing. And this is a huge concern as well with the oil and gas market due to supply and demand imbalance. So let's break this news down because this just happened yesterday. So where are we right now? As of the end of 2025, oil prices are down sharply. If we take a look at Brent and also WTI, the crude oil price, WTI right now is sitting at $58 per barrel, where Brent is sitting around $62 per barrel. That's almost 20% lower. You can't see that on right here, this chart, but like if we zoom out and look at how Brent crude oil is doing in the past year performance, then things is going to be clearer. Like this is a downward trend only, it's going down only, and that's almost 20% lower than earlier this year. This drop isn't because demand collapse, it's because supply is flooding the market. Countries like US or Brazil are pumping more oil than expected. The US alone is producing over 13 million barrels every single day, while OPEC is planning to cut the production, especially in Russia and Iraq, but non-OPEC supply grew even faster. And on top of that, there's the demand is still growing, but it's slowing down. People are driving less, industries are more efficient, and renewable energies are expanding. The result that we're seeing now is that oil is piling up in storage. And however, gas is an entirely different story. So if we look at the natural gas prices are rising again right now because we are in winter. So you see this uptick, especially on 5th of December, natural gas rise all the way up to $5.28. We have this crash, this correction down to $3. That was on 22nd of December, but this is an uptake again because again it's in winter. And many analysts are predicting that 2026, it could even go higher. Well, the reason why is, well, for one, there's strong demand in Asia, and for two, Europe's still replacing Russian gas, but they can't just do it the next day because they have been relying on Russian gas quite for a few years. But longer term, a huge supply wave is coming. This is the news that we got. So by 2030, global LNG, so the LNG, the liquid gas, the capacity would grow by 50%, and the US and Qatar is actually leading the way right now. This could push prices lower later, but near-term risk still remains. And energy is getting more political and it drives every single thing in the market. What's happening now with Russia is selling cheaper energy to China and India, while Middle East tensions remain a wild card. These shifts reshape global trade routes and pricing power. So there are, of course, winners and losers when it comes to the oil market and also the gas market. The winners are no doubt the energy importers or countries buying discounted oil, or maybe consumers enjoying lower fuel prices. While the losers, for example, they might be the oil producers with higher costs, countries depend on energy exports and companies facing shrinking margins. The US benefits from scale, but producers are feeling pressure. So many forecasts are saying in 2026, oil price might be somewhere around $55 to $70. Supply will keep growing faster than demand, while the gas markets may become oversupply at some point in the future, but risk remain because we are still in the middle of war. There's still weather shocks and political surprises. So in other words, energy markets look calm right now, but they are quite fragile. And with uncertain times like this, it will ultimately drive people back to Bitcoin. It might not happen right now, but long term, we all know the answer. We're going to we all know the answer because every nation, every people, everyone in this world, there's a reason to adopt Bitcoin. It takes time, and based on the TA, maybe it will come at around October 2026. All right, so we're going to take a short break now, and after that, we'll bring you the latest updates on precious metals. So stay with us.
Security matters. Zappo Bank, the only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at zappobank.com.
So, tell us about your furry friend here. What's his name?
Oh, this? This is Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
It's not just a cat, he's family.
Quite a name, and I must say, looks quite pampered.
Oh, absolutely. Bitcoin deserves nothing but the best. He's my little prince.
But with such a valuable pet, aren't you afraid of losing him?
Losing Bitcoin? No, it never happened before, so it's not something I worry about. Excuse me for a moment. Bitcoin, stay here, right?
Bitcoin, no! Bitcoin, come on, little buddy, Bitcoin, I need you. Don't go.
In a world far away. Nah, just kidding. This story begins in this world. It all started in 1460 in Antwerp, when the first commodities exchange was created, but the real transformation came in 1602, when the Amsterdam Stock Exchange was founded. Considered the oldest in the world, it was the first to trade financial assets. Over the years, Britain expanded its colonial and maritime influence, and the British pound sterling overtook the Dutch guilder in the market. Thus, the London Stock Exchange became the financial centre of the world. The 20th century came, and the world got into some trouble. But shortly after World War II, the Bretton Woods Agreement established the dollar as the world's primary reserve currency, and the centre of the planet moved to Wall Street. Today, we're travelling at the speed of light towards a new age, an era shaped by the consolidation of Bitcoin as the currency that will define the future of the markets. We present Roxum, a new Bitcoin-denominated market that allows trading all sorts of securities, commodities, derivatives, options, and anything you can imagine. Roxum, rock-solid markets.
Some call me Chicken Little, others Bubble Boy. I'm a bit changed, but sounds familiar, right? Let me tell you a hard truth. The S&P isn't rising, the dollar's falling. That's the trick, monopoly money. It's ice melting by the second. Your savings, your salary, your time. Worth less every second. Everyone's using the wrong measuring stick. Switch the denominator. Price the S&P into Bitcoin. Hard, fixed, unprintable. Suddenly your unstoppable index, it's collapsing. And while you cling to dollars, well, Wall Street already switched. Before, you needed 2 brokers.
Still getting my ninja bonus though, right?
Plenty of spreadsheets. And my quant!
I hate this part.
I was right. then I'll be right again. If I were you, I'd thank me.
You know my name's Dave, right?
Welcome back to Roxham TV. I'm your host, Jemmy. 2025 has been wild for precious metals. Gold, silver, palladium didn't just rise, they exploded, and then they pull back fast. People are calling it a blow off top, but the real question is, was this just hype or the start of something much bigger? So let's break it down in simple terms. This year, we saw a massive move. Gold, silver, palladium. So gold surged over 70% this year, hitting above $4,500, while silver exploded more than 140%, touching $84. Palladium jumped over 120%, briefly passing $2,000. But then suddenly, yesterday, prices pulled back significantly. This wasn't random. This was a classic profit taking after a huge run. So let's take a step back. Why did precious metals pump so hard in the past place? Well, it boils down to a few big reasons. First is the fear of people. People are worried about inflation. They're worried about wars and geopolitical risks. When fear rises, money runs to hard assets like gold, like silver, like palladium. And second reason, and this kind of specifically applied to gold, central banks around the world, they are buying gold. They have bought over 1,000 tons of gold this year. Well, when it comes to the actual number, we don't know certainly how much central banks actually bought because they are under no obligation to let the public know. But this still a huge vote of confidence in gold as real money from governments around the world, from central banks around the world. And a third reason why we are seeing a huge pump from precious metal is because of AI pump and also the energy boom. Now, this is important. Silver is used heavily in AI data centers or solar panels or electronics, whereas palladium is used in clean energy or auto technology. So the demand is very real. It's not just some narratives. It's not just some speculation. So what happened yesterday? Why did prices suddenly drop? Well, after massive gains, traders started taking profits, which is a typical blow off top we experience in crypto. This is normal after parabolic moves. It doesn't mean the story is over. It just means the market needed some time to cool off. But personally, I think gold is still looking strong long term. Gold isn't just about fear, it's about trust. So governments are running huge deficit. We know the debt's just going to keep going. Currencies keep losing value. It doesn't matter if it's USD or British pounds. We know fiat currencies are losing values because central banks around the world, governments around the world, they can't afford but print money because that is the easy way out. And gold becomes the anchor when trust fades. That's why central banks keep buying quietly. So what about Bitcoin? Because Bitcoin, it hasn't been doing so well compared to gold. This is where things get interesting. So if we take a look at 2023, the price action, the annual performance, gold only did a 12% return, while Bitcoin did 156%. And in 2024, gold did only 26%, and Bitcoin generate a really nice gain of 121%. But let's fast forward to today in 2025. Gold did a whopping 70%, but Bitcoin only generate 18%. So investors of Bitcoin, they are not happy. So reason why Bitcoin is underperforming against gold, well, it boils down to a few reasons. The first one, if we take a look at the Bitcoin spot ETF, inflow, net inflow, well, more particularly net outflow, if we scroll down, we're going to see more red than green. So there is like one day on 17th of December, we have a positive inflow of 5,000 BTC. So if we quickly hop onto the USD value, that managed to bring in $457 million of inflow. But while the rest is majority red color, so most of them, the ETF is outflow. And second of all, liquidity is tightening and risk appetite is kind of shifting. Right now, gold replaced Bitcoin. So if we hop back to the chart, so gold replaced Bitcoin as the safe haven asset, but historically speaking, Bitcoin tends to lag, then catch up fast. And when Bitcoin do catch up, it's going to be a parabolic move. And what we know so far is that stocks are still expected to rise slowly. Metals may cool short term, but stay strong in the long term. And based on the TA, Bitcoin is not looking it will turn bullish anytime soon. That is until at least Q3 or Q4 2026 from judging from the charts alone. All right, so after the big run in precious metals and the pullback we're seeing today, well, maybe yesterday, the focus is now starting to shift. Investors aren't just asking where the money is flowing. They are asking what's actually powering the next phase of growth. And that takes us straight into tech, where Nvidia and Intel are making some really bold moves. This isn't just about chips anymore. It's about control or infrastructure and who's positioning themselves for the next decade of innovation. So let's take a closer look of what is actually happening right now. So Nvidia is buying all these companies left and right. Here's what happened. So just a few hours ago, Nvidia takes $5 billion stake in Intel under September agreement. And not only Intel, but they committed up to $100 billion to build AI infrastructure with OpenAI. We know this news weeks ago. And they also spent about $20 billion to secure advanced AI chip tech from a company called Grok. What this showcases is that one thing very clear, Nvidia wants full control of the AI ecosystem, whether it's chips, whether it's software or data centers. They just want to control everything when it comes to AI. And this is also one of the reasons why some investors, especially Michael Barry, think AI stocks are overheating. And his argument is pretty simple. There is too much money and too much hype, but not enough real usage in the market. He believes companies are overestimating how fast AI demand can grow, and he does have a point. Well, AI demand is real, but the problem is electricity. Data centers need massive energy, so they need energy for cooling, they need energy for computing, and not to mention, AI data center is not the same as Bitcoin mining. Bitcoin mining can afford to not have 100% uptime, but data centers need that 24/7 uptime. By 2030, AI could use over 10% of US electricity, and the grid is not ready for now. This is where things get interesting. And if we also hop onto news like Google buys renewable energy project developer Intersect for almost $5 billion. Reason being is because they don't want to wait for the grid. They want their own power. They want their own energy supply and they want zero delays. This is a huge signal. Big tech isn't worried about demand. They are worried about access to energy. So the risk isn't AI dying. The risk is GPUs sitting idle, data centers waiting years for power, growth slowing because energy can't keep up. that could look like an AI crash, even though the demand is still exploding. So this isn't the end of AI, it's the infrastructure phase. The next battle isn't software anymore, it's electricity, it's land and power access. The companies that control energy will control the future of AI. We're going to see the dynamic change, especially in the coming months. All right, so we're going to take a short break now. And when we come back, we'll dive into a story that's moving fast and quietly, and so-called major US bank blow up tied to silver trading. The headlines are really loud, but the real story is what's happening behind the scenes. A $675 million margin shock that's catching traders off guard. So stay with us. You won't want to miss this out.
Security matters. Zappo Bank. The only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at zappobank.com.
So, tell us about your furry friend here. What's his name?
Oh, this? This is Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
It's not just a cat, he's family.
Quite a name, and I must say, looks quite pampered.
Oh, absolutely. Bitcoin deserves nothing but the best. He's my little prince.
But with such a valuable pet, aren't you afraid of losing him?
Losing Bitcoin? No, it never happened before, so it's not something I worry about. Excuse me for a moment. Bitcoin, stay here, right?
Bitcoin, no! Bitcoin, come on, little buddy, Bitcoin, I need you. Don't go.
In a world far away. Nah, just kidding. This story begins in this world. It all started in 1460 in Antwerp, when the first commodities exchange was created, but the real transformation came in 1602, when the Amsterdam Stock Exchange was founded. Considered the oldest in the world, it was the first to trade financial assets. Over the years, Britain expanded its colonial and maritime influence, and the British pound sterling overtook the Dutch guilder in the market. Thus, the London Stock Exchange became the financial centre of the world. The 20th century came, and the world got into some trouble. But shortly after World War II, the Bretton Woods Agreement established the dollar as the world's primary reserve currency, and the centre of the planet moved to Wall Street. Today, we're travelling at the speed of light towards a new age, an era shaped by the consolidation of Bitcoin as the currency that will define the future of the markets. We present Roxum, a new Bitcoin-denominated market that allows trading all sorts of securities, commodities, derivatives, options, and anything you can imagine. Roxum, rock-solid markets.
Some call me Chicken Little, others Bubble Boy. I'm a bit changed, but sounds familiar, right? Let me tell you a hard truth. The S&P isn't rising, the dollar's falling. That's the trick. Monopoly money. It's ice melting by the second. Your savings, your salary, your time. Worth less every second. Everyone's using the wrong measuring stick. Switch the denominator. Price the S&P into Bitcoin. Hard, fixed, unprintable. Suddenly your unstoppable index, it's collapsing. And while you cling to dollars, well, Wall Street already switched. Before, you needed 2 brokers.
Still getting my ninja bonus though, right?
Plenty of spreadsheets. And my quant!
I hate this part.
I was right, and I'll be right again. If I were you, I'd thank me.
You know my name's Dave, right?
Oh, looks like I'm live for some reason. All right, guys, welcome back before. So before the break, we talk about what's really happening inside the repo market, which is a quiet plumbing of the financial system. Now, let's connect that to the headline that's been everywhere online. The claim that a major bullion bank collapsed because of silver. So let's take a look and dive deeper into the news. So let's look at the headline. Major US bank blows up from silver trade. Headlines hide the $675 million margin shock currently hitting traders. And if we get into details, this week started with a sensational screenshot shared across hundreds of breathless posts on X and a claim designed to hit every financial nerve ending at once. So this is the screenshot for any folks who are curious. A systematic important US bank, a silver margin call, liquidation by the exchange in the middle of the night, the Federal Reserve allegedly forced to pump billions into the system, and the bank's name concealed. All right, at the first glance, the timing makes people nervous. Repo usage is ticking up, liquidity got a bit tighter, and suddenly social media was full of posts saying a bank had blown up. But when you actually look deeper at the data, a very different picture appears. What we are seeing isn't a bank failure, it's a year-end pressure meeting extreme volatility in the silver market. The repo activity we just discussed fits a familiar pattern. Balance sheet clean up, higher funding needs, and tighter liquidity. So it's not a rescue operation. And that's where the confusion starts. Because while no major bank collapsed, something did break. And it did hit leveraged silver traders very hard. So let's walk through what really happened. And for that, we need to start with the repo market. First, let's take a step back for those of you who don't know what is repo market is. So think of the repo market as short-term borrowing between big financial players. So banks and institutions borrow cash overnight by using safe assets like US Treasuries as collateral. It's basically like, I'll give you cash today, you give me bonds, and we swap back tomorrow. And this system helps keep money flowing smoothly. So did the repo activity actually increase? Like looking at this chart, it did. That was an uptick, and especially in late December. But let's be very clear, this is not a crisis. Here's what we actually saw. So if we take a look at the early December, repo usage jumped on 1st of December as well. And that was higher than normal, but not extreme. Whereas in mid-December, activity cooled down again after the Fed meeting. But end of December, so just yesterday, repo usage went back up. So around $26 billion again, one of the higher readings of the month. This kind of movement is very common around year end when banks clean up the balance sheets. So what about on the internet is saying $34 billion into the banking system? Well, the Fed did injected $34 billion to save the system, but this is not confirmed by official data. What did happen? What we saw from the chart is the repo usage rose, liquidity tightened slightly, and the Fed provided normal support through existing facilities. So I would say this is more a routine year-end behavior, not an emergency bailout. And if we also look at the reverse repo market usage actually fell, meaning there was less excess cash sitting around. There's actually more demand for short-term funding. This is extremely normal when banks prepare for their balance sheets and for the year-end reporting. So is this a warning sign? Short answer, No, there's no sign we are in a crisis, but yes, there's tighter conditions. What we are seeing is higher funding stress than earlier in the year and normal year-end balance sheet pressure, markets adjusting after months of liquidity shifts. So this does not mean banks are failing. What this does show is that the system is running closer to the edge and small shocks can feel rather big. So what I'm watching next is for the repo levels in early January and whether rates stay elevated or if there's any signs stress spreads beyond funding markets. But for now, this is pressure, not so much as panic. All right, so let's move on to the next story of the day. What we just walked through in the repo market shows how tightly connected today's financial system really is, from liquidity conditions to risk management behind the scenes. And while that story was about funding pressure and market mechanics, the next one shifts our focus to something very different, all the way to national security. A crypto exchange employee in South Korea has just sentenced for trying to sell military secrets to North Korea in exchange for Bitcoin. This case shows how crypto isn't just about money anymore. It's now part of global security and geopolitics. So here's what happened. Here's the details you need to know. So South Korea's top court confirmed a 4-year prison sentence for a former employee of a major crypto exchange. He is in his 40s and his name is only known as Lee. So according to court records, Lee attempted to sell sensitive military information to North Korea in exchange for Bitcoin, payments totaling roughly $500,000 USD. Investigators say the scheme began in 2021. Lee was contacted through Telegram by someone using allies as Boros, later linked to North Korea's intelligence service. His role was to recruit insiders within South Korea's military. He successfully approached a serving army captain, who was later convicted as well. The two attempted to photograph, classify military documents using a hidden camera and deliver malware disguised as a USB device and also assets secure military command systems. Authorities intercepted the operation before any classified data was successfully leaked. So the sentence for Lee is that he received 4 years in prison and a ban from financial sector work. The recruited military officer received a 10-year sentence under South Korea's Military Secrets Protection Act. So why does this matter? This case comes at a time where North Korea has become one of the world's most active crypto threat actors. In 2025 alone, blockchain investigators estimate North Korean-linked groups stole over $2 billion in digital assets, bringing total crypto theft tied to regime to roughly $6 to $7 billion. These funds are believed to support weapons development or cyber operations and sanctions evasion. Crypto's speed and pseudonymous nature continue to make it an attractive tool for state-sponsor operations. So the bigger picture here is that this story isn't just about one individual or one exchange. What it highlights is how crypto is increasingly tied to geopolitics. Financial platforms can become national security targets, and how digital assets are now part of modern intelligence warfare. So now, let's be honest, people have sold houses for Bitcoin, they have quit jobs for Bitcoin, or even tattooed Bitcoin logos on their bodies. But selling military secrets to North Korea for Bitcoin, that's a new level. At this rate, the next headline might be some people will trade kidney for some Bitcoin. Bitcoin really does turn people into either millionaires or international criminals. But like crypto itself, Bitcoin itself, isn't a villain. The villain is greed from people or bad judgment, and bad actors can really turn that into a weapon. So yes, stack Bitcoin, stack Satoshi if you want. Just don't sell national secrets when you're at it. All right, so we're going to take a short break now, and when we come back, we'll have the co-founder of Asia's first dedicated Bitcoin developer school in Bali. Stick with us.
Security matters. Zappo Bank. The only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at zappobank.com.
So, tell us about your furry friend here. What's his name?
Oh, this? This is Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
It's not just a cat, he's family.
Quite a name, and I must say, looks quite pampered.
Oh, absolutely. Bitcoin deserves nothing but the best. He's my little prince.
But with such a valuable pet, aren't you afraid of losing him?
Losing Bitcoin? No, it never happened before, so it's not something I worry about. Excuse me for a moment. Bitcoin, stay here, right?
Bitcoin, no! Bitcoin, come on, little buddy, Bitcoin, I need you. Don't go.
In a world far away. Nah, just kidding. This story begins in this world. It all started in 1460 in Antwerp, when the first commodities exchange was created, but the real transformation came in 1602, when the Amsterdam Stock Exchange was founded. Considered the oldest in the world, it was the first to trade financial assets. Over the years, Britain expanded its colonial and maritime influence, and the British pound sterling overtook the Dutch guilder in the market. Thus, the London Stock Exchange became the financial centre of the world. The 20th century came, and the world got into some trouble. But shortly after World War II, the Bretton Woods Agreement established the dollar as the world's primary reserve currency, and the centre of the planet moved to Wall Street. Today, we're travelling at the speed of light towards a new age, an era shaped by the consolidation of Bitcoin as the currency that will define the future of the markets. We present Roxum, a new Bitcoin-denominated market that allows trading all sorts of securities, commodities, derivatives, options, and anything you can imagine. Roxum, rock-solid markets.
Some call me Chicken Little, others Bubble Boy. I'm a bit changed, but sounds familiar, right? Let me tell you a hard truth. The S&P isn't rising, the dollar's falling. That's the trick, monopoly money. It's ice melting by the second. Your savings, your salary, your time. Worth less every second. Everyone's using the wrong measuring stick. Switch the denominator. Price the S&P into Bitcoin. Hard, fixed, unprintable. Suddenly your unstoppable index, it's collapsing. And while you cling to dollars, well, Wall Street already switched. Before, you needed 2 brokers.
Still getting my ninja bonus though, right?
Plenty of spreadsheets. And my quant!
I hate this part.
I was right, and I'll be right again. If I were you, I'd thank me.
You know my name's Dave, right?
Welcome back, everyone, and thanks for sticking with us. Now, let's jump into today's main conversation. I'm really excited to bring on our next guest, Keeplab, who is the Bitcoin developer and community builder who is doing some truly amazing work on the ground in Asia. He's the founder of Code Orange Dev School, where he helps people learn Bitcoin from the ground up, from self-custodian or nodes to open source development. His work isn't about hype or price, but more on the education part, on the freedom part, and building real tools people can use. So if you ever wonder how Bitcoin is actually being adopted in the real world, beyond just charts and headlines, this conversation is for you. So, Keeblab, it's great to have you. How are you feeling today?
Hey, I'm feeling good. TikTok next block. We keep on pushing the Bitcoin adoption. We try to not look at the price too much, and things are good. I'm on holiday mode. I'm back home, back to Bali in about a month.
Yeah, happy holiday. And I would love to get to know more about what you're building in Bali as well. So, since this is your first time on my show, like, why don't we start with a little bit of background about you? Start with the basic. Could you share a little bit more about how you came across Bitcoin the first time and what was the aha moment on the orange pill moment for you?
All right, so Michael Saylor says there is you cannot really kind of orange pill a person. It has to automatically click with you at some point throughout your journey. So there's quite a few things that kind of piled up. First of all, in 2017, I met this girl called Alice. She basically was looking for a very expensive apartment in London. I was an estate agent back in the day, and she was looking for this Bloomsbury apartment for £800 a week, which is quite a lot of money. And she said, "Yeah, I have a little bit of Bitcoin. It's really good. You should have some too." Told us the story about how she mined it in 2010 with her friends in New York. And that was my first kind of encounter. It was at the top of the bull market in end of 2017. And then I dabbled into Coinbase account and things like this. And then, of course, as the price went down, everybody forgot about it, including me. And then 2020 came, more time on my hands. I was stuck at home, and I listened to a lot of podcasts from Jeff Booth to Michael Saylor, and that's where it started to click. That's the reason why I cannot afford to buy a house here in London. You know, we have all these good jobs, but we still live paycheck to paycheck. How come is that? And that's when, we realize that something is not right. Inflation is slowly chipping into your pocket. It's 10% or 20%, depends on the region. And that's how it all started for me.
Yeah, I mean, listening to your story is actually the first time hearing the story. Well, I would say you're very fortunate that you get to know Bitcoin at such an early stage, because you first heard about Bitcoin, specifically Bitcoin mining, back in 2010, and I'm sure that makes a lot of people jealous. And after listening to so much podcasts, maybe from Michael Saylor to other content creators, you finally got the aha moment that this is more important from more than just like financial aspect. So I noticed you also mentioned your family history and money issues in the past. Could you share that a little bit more? Like, how did that shape, and specifically how you see Bitcoin today? Because you always talk about the freedom aspect instead of the financial aspect. Could you share a little bit more? Maybe there's like some personal story that happened to you.
Sure. So I'm from Lithuania. Actually, that's where I'm at the moment, visiting my family. And in Lithuania, um, we have the fourth currency in my lifetime. I mean, I'm not that old, but it's a fourth currency that's kind of it's not changing yet, but three already have changed. We had ruble, we had Vagnorkes, a little piece of paper for a few years, then litas, the national currency of Lithuania, which all doesn't exist anymore because we have euro now, and euro has sort of dropped in price versus USD quite significantly as well since that time. So, how come that the currencies have to change? There should be something solid backed by energy and something a little bit more cryptography based, math based, physics based, energy, connected to energy, and so that's one kind of aspect. And another aspect is more of this freedom and kind of independence aspect. Since 1869, for 40 years, Lithuanian language was illegal here in Lithuania. But there was these guys, book runners, or you can call them book smugglers, who would kind of bring in the books and read it to the children here in Lithuania. And there were some people who didn't want it. And of course, there was the suppression. But the thing is that I can still speak Lithuanian. And there is this element of this kind of censorship and sort of freedom of speech. There's an element as me as a Lithuanian, it just kind of helps me to really understand the kind of parallel speech control, things like this. So there's a really strong connection between these stories and some of the regions in the world at the moment, Bitcoin connected. So yeah, this is how. Of course, not to mention the inflation, the fact that I couldn't afford to have a house in London, very expensive. And why is that? Is because money is broken. People are using houses as money, but houses shouldn't be money to fulfill the store of value aspect. It should be to raise kids, to live in it. It should be utility value. So all these signs are showing that money is broken and there must be a solution. And when you have a problem, you always find a solution. So we all know what it is.
Yeah, that is some very valuable experience that you share, and especially something that you have experienced that firsthand. Like if I were you, I wouldn't like my country not letting me to speak my mother tongue because I think that is taking freedom away from basically human right. So you're right. Like Bitcoin, there's a reason for everyone in the world to adopt Bitcoin. There is always some fundamental for everyone. So I know you helped build Bitcoin House Bali. Is that why you built that in the first place? Perhaps you could tell me more about that.
Great. So I moved to Bali in 2022, maybe running away from inflation and expensive, or maybe looking for adventure. And I wanted to connect to like-minded people, to Bitcoiners, but there was none. And since there was no Bitcoiners, I thought, I was walking on the beach one day and I said, there must be some Bitcoiners here in Bali. And I remembered there was a podcast I listened to back home with Dea Reskita. I reached out to her on Twitter. And I say, Dea, please help me. All these altcoin communities, they drive me crazy. It's not the same as Bitcoiners. Where's the Bitcoin meetup? And she mentioned that, hey, let's resume those meetups. Let's go ahead and finally we have more Bitcoiners on the island. So that's how we started. That led to meetups. That then led to Bitcoin Indonesia conference in 2023, and that's where I met the co-founders Marius, Diana of Bitcoin House Bali, Dimas as well, and we decided to grow the community. What Bitcoin is really unique. When you start, you don't want to go back. It ended up being our kind of full-time hustle, full-time spending time, because you don't want to go back into fiat land. And yeah, there was a exciting. There was a little bit of struggle, but overall, just really, really snowballing the community, and the community is growing. There's more exciting things are coming, and when you have meetups taking place, then they develop into workshops. Then there's new things coming around, like vibe coding or advanced cell custody. People need to know how to run nodes, and this is how Code Orange School was born as well. So yeah, really exciting. It's all about community. It's all about Bitcoiners. More time we spend with Bitcoiners, better adoption goes.
Yeah, you mentioned quite a lot of jargons right there. For example, like vibe coding. We're going to get into that in a bit. But I'm curious, like, how do your workshops help people with no tech background to get started? Like, basically, what could people gain from attending your dev school, the Code Orange Dev School? Perhaps you could share that a little bit more.
So, for example, if we have a workshop in person at Code Orange School or Bitcoin House Bali, what really happens is we tailor it to the attendee. So, for example, let's say there is BitDev's type of Code Orange workshop about how to defend against a $5 wrench attack. There will be some people who come and say, hey, what is $5 wrench attack? So we explain it from the basics. We really try these meetups to be as interactive as possible. We start with introductions. We try to gauge the understanding of what level is a beginner or advanced cypherpunk in a room. And then we really kind of tailor it. So each workshop is actually different depending on who is in the room. So everybody's welcomed. We really understand this problem that some beginners can get switched off very fast if we start going into the weeds too much. So we just address this problem and we ask, hey, have you backed up the seed phrase before? Do you know why we need to run a Bitcoin node? So we really try to get interactive and meet people where they are at. This is what we discovered. It's the best approach.
And you mentioned about vibe coding. Could you get into that a little bit more? Like, what does that mean, or how does that work? Because, like, I actually don't have a tech background, so it's actually a challenge to you, like how you could explain vibe coding to me, even a non-tech person could understand.
Hey, believe it or not, I'm also a non-tech person. I'm actually not a developer, although now I can call myself a developer because we have vibe coding. So vibe coding, it was coined just very, very recently, maybe like 6 months ago. Andrei Karpathy just mentioned, hey, this AI tool is so advanced now that we can do some vibe coding. We can get into the vibes and just speak into the laptop and the code comes out. So vibe coding, it kind of like stands for what it is. You code, but you don't need to be a coder. And vibe coding is just a term that Andre kind of coined, and it's very, very useful. It's being used more and more. I started using it a few months ago, and I thought, you know what? Since you can now vibe code a Bitcoin app with Bitcoin payments on Nostr, it's just very, very useful. So we're building this parallel internet, which is censorship resistant, which has native currency in it, which doesn't have borders. And it seems to be very useful for many people around the world. So why not have more people building on it who are non-developers? Like myself, I can now build a Bitcoin app, and we actually show people on our vibe coding sessions online on Discord how to do it. So vibe coding is just simply using AI to build Bitcoin apps. It is not perfect, but it's going to get better and better exponentially. And vibe coding, I think, is the way to go.
And I wonder if there's any actual examples using vibe coding, using AI that you feel, okay, this product is actually really good to launch out to the market for general public to use. Is there any example you could give us?
Yes, actually, it was vibe coded by Jack Dorsey on a weekend. It's called BitChat. So BitChat is a very unique app, and it's censorship resistance. It uses Bluetooth to communicate. So if there's an internet shutdown in one of the countries, we've seen it in Nepal, I believe it was. There was some shutdowns in Indonesia as well, a couple of other countries, and people are using it. It's vibe coded. It of course needs to be touched by developers to fix the bugs, and the AI is not perfect just yet. But for example, I can also give a shout out to Alex Gleason from Shakespeare. Shakespeare.diy is the website. You should give it a shot. You can actually vibe code a Nostr app with eCash in it or Bitcoin payments in it. So it's very powerful tools.
And one thing you talk about is chain code labs. I wonder if there's like any collaboration going on between Code Orange Dev School and Chain Code Lab. So, like, why do you support what they're doing so much?
I think just because they're the best and they're really switched on and they have a really good track record. We even have Sherry on the call who went through this program last year, I believe. We would love to hear your kind of experience. But the reason why we really support this Chain Code Labs initiative is because they really have good success stories. They connect people to grant givers. They prepare young developers to start building on Bitcoin. So yes, top of the line, highly respected in the space. You have Adam Jonas, Stacy, Jamal, and the rest of the team who I'm yet to meet. And yeah, they're really, really good. You will have Sherry as well explain. I really want to learn about Sherry's experience there as well. We have her on a call, and let's see what we can learn. How about I just mention what, so basically, Sherry, you went through the Chinko Labs thing last year, and we have Boss Challenge coming up. We have 2 more days to sign up. So anybody listening, please go to bosschallenge.xyz and get to know what's happening there by Chinko Labs. We have mentorships, we have structured curriculum, we have accountability, and we have a structure of how to get going for 1 month. Plus, you can do another 2 months if you're really advanced. So we are keen to learn a little bit more from a person who actually been to Chinko Labs Boss Challenge last year, because this year it's taking place again. So Sherry, why don't you share us? Maybe you could tell us what to expect from the developers who sign up. And again, there's only 2 days left to sign up for that. What would they need to expect, and what was your experience last year?
From my perspective, I think I would recommend not only developer, but everyone who is interested about to know about Bitcoin more, sign this program, because it actually break down all the Bitcoin protocol to every small part and try to gamify it. So after you register the program, like we will have a very big Discord that from there you can connect it with everyone who joined the program at the same time. I think Bitcoin development itself sounds kind of intimidating for a lot of people. So through the program, we can split it like step by step. Every week you got some challenges like you try to solve. You can communicate with people's it's not even have a very strict deadline. You can just totally follow your own pace. And the problem is usually related to cryptography, signature, sometimes mining, a little bit mining. That's basically the first week, the first month of the program. And things become like really interesting since the second month, because at the second month, all the participants got the chance to solve the real open source problem. So there's many fun things happen in the Bitcoin development space, like silent payment, like Lightning, LND, LDK, RDK. So you actually got a chance to connect with the open source developer in this programs. I think this part will be very fun for a lot of people who already have development experience. But even you just are interested about how things works, I think the first month like definitely was a try. Because like for me personally, I think if you don't understand how things actually works behind it, you just I don't know, you just follow a tutorial, which means you trust the tutorial 100%. The tutorial might say, you click this, you click that, and you get whatever. But through the cheat code program, you can actually understand the code line by line, like what everything happens behind it. And we also talk a little bit of vibe code before. I think this is a very fun topic because last year when I joined the program, a vibe code is not as powerful as nowadays, but I still encourage people who sign up this year, like use at least for the first month, use as less vibe code as possible, because if you actually want to understand the mathematical behind it, vibe code can only give you a result, but if you check it line by line, you can actually understand it. Yeah, that is like my main experience.
I'm also curious to ask you actually the vibe coding, how it will change the education, because I really feel like it's changing the education a little bit. You mentioned that maybe don't use so much vibe coding, although what I did, I went through BitShell sort of programs and I used a lot of vibe coding. And Raj, he said, "Hey, I'm actually impressed how a non-developer can complete these tasks." But at the same time, maybe it's not doing the purpose. I still feel not educated about coding because it wasn't me who did the coding. What do you say? Maybe it's to be discovered, right?
Yeah, I think vibe code is perfect for the product level. Like, uh, it like release the power of creativity. Everyone can vibe code something, so which means we have like broader pool of people who can actually create things, which is super cool. But for protocol level, it's like for actually security questions or the protocol change, vibe code will definitely introduce a lot of like uncertainty. And also there's specific security problem. Let's say before, like we already have a lot of like security problem, but nowadays, which we will have more security problem because you can actually put some bugs into the prompt that actually allow the AI to read and create a result that is kind of dangerous. This is like bring the new challenge to all the products related to the security questions.
That makes sense. Thank you for explaining, Sherry. That's great. Sign up for the Boss Challenge. 2 more days to go. We'll start in a few weeks. And for anybody who wants to learn more about Bitcoin, into more technical side, bosschallenge.xyz.
Well, you heard the man, and also you heard from our amazing producer, Sherry. So, from what I heard, Keyplat, is that there is some program for non-developers or maybe even some advanced developers. So, I wonder what is the big deal here? Why are you building all this? Like, why are you constantly looking for more Bitcoin developers? Does it help with the decentralization nature, or like what do you see for having more developers in the space?
So I think it's just part of adoption. We have regular people. We sometimes there's a slang for it, normies. They coming in, they're fighting inflation. They want to no longer live paycheck to paycheck. They want to have a solution to inflation. But we also have adoption going through the technical level. We don't have that many Bitcoin core developers. We want to have more solutions, silent payments, lightning optimization, and things like this. eCash is very big, or how to set up federations, things like that. And we really want to have more node runners. We really want to have more people having self-custody. So it could be from basic self-custody, just keeping your 12 words safe. You can also go into using passphrases and multi-sig, and we just really want to have technical people defending the Bitcoin network. And the way to defend that Bitcoin network is to run a node, is to hold your keys in self-custody, not rely on third parties. And this is why we want to sort of target the technical people, because it's actually them who's going to be securing and building on Bitcoin. And as Stacy mentioned from Chain Code Labs, a lot of developers who will be building on Bitcoin, they don't know about Bitcoin just yet, or they don't know the reason why they should build on open source protocols, the new peer-to-peer internet like Nostr, which has native currency. So developers are just very, very important. And we actually felt that there is a need for this technical side. There are schools like Bitshala or Trust Builders. We just want to have more of these schools that focus on technical side of things. So we have workshops from self-custody, node running, to vibe coding, and then also Bitcoin Dojo as well. A shout out to Shimi, who created Bitcoin Dojo. We will actually use it through the boss challenge just to equip technical non-Bitcoiners to become Bitcoiners. So, and also as Sherry mentioned, you don't have to be a developer. You can just be a curious Bitcoiner who wants to learn more about mining, cryptography, private key, public key, and then sign up for that course. And the website is bosschallenge.xyz.
Yes, it's great to it's a great call to action. And last question, because we are running out of time. Since you have been traveling to different places, you're from Europe, and also you're building all these developer schools in Bali. I wonder if you witness any adoption difference in all these countries. If there's something you witness, you could share to our audience.
I think in the global south, the adoption is faster because people are more hurt by inflation. There's more curiosity. There's more people living paycheck to paycheck. Inflation is double digits in some of these areas. These countries have gone through hyperinflation too, so people know that something is not right, but they don't know what is it, and it's because their money is broken. So there's a big difference between kind of Europe and global South. I think that Bitcoin is needed in global South a little bit more, and you can really feel that. We can really feel that at Bitcoin House Bali as well. More and more people are coming. There's a huge interest in that. People are flying from all over the world. Bali is a holiday destination, and there's a lot of non-Bitcoiners that come and they get the orange pill.
Yes, I love that. But unfortunately, that's all the time we have today. So huge thanks to Keeplat for joining us and sharing your work on Bitcoin and education or in Bali. So we hope to have you back with us again very soon.
Let's chat soon. Pleasure. See you later. Thank you very much.
Thank you.